All right, traders, welcome to today's midday summary. This is Christian from Tribeca Trade Group and wishing you a happy Thanksgiving, as there will not be an end of day video. So safe travels to everybody who's traveling. I'm out to going to my sister's house first tonight, and then onto my parents. But that doesn't sound too bad, as they were just saying on CNBC that the American Airlines app is down in Chicago. Could you imagine how bad that would be? Because everybody uses their app. I use the app for the boarding passes. But anyway, holy cow. I feel so much better not having to deal with that. Doesn't that make you feel kind of good that you're not dealing with trying to board a flight and the app doesn't work? Whew. So anyway, let me get to the markets. We got the S&P up 1% today. It's a little bit higher than the open. These days, I will say these days are pretty tough, or they've been tough, where we start the day when futures are up. It's a battle to get us higher. But knock on wood, it's 11:45, and we are hanging in there. And there's some strength in some different things. I would say more positives than negatives. Again, the day is still young, and I would anticipate volume to kind of trail off through the day. But let me talk about what's kind of moving. Nasdaq kind of looks the same way. It's up 1.5%, a little bit higher than where we were on the open. So I will talk about my game plan for the day. IWM is the outperformer in the U.S. indices today. That's a good sign, right? Small caps leading a little bit, up 2%. If you look to the best performers, the Chinese internets, right? China was strong last night. Again, that's a trade that I look at a lot to see what China does overnight, and then we can look to see what the internets are doing. But they continue. I tweeted this out earlier. You would think, up 5%, maybe these things are turning the corner. I think it still needs some more time, right? I mean, this has not cracked the 50-day moving average. I've been in a couple trades here in China. I'm long FXI going out to, 2020. I'm getting my years confused, but I'm in a long-term FXI trade just in case they get anything done. I think it's good risk to reward. I'm trying to peel out of my BABA, which I've been whining about lately because that fell. But BABA, I got a nice day, up 3.3%. So I added to that towards the end of the day yesterday. So I'm trying to peel out of that because, and if it closes back above the 50, I can stay in the rest. But I want to be as prudent as possible with these bounce days. Then I look, so that's the best performer. That's up 5%. Then you look at the casinos, which saw, really the call buying was last week. Win is basically back to Monday's open. So still kind of hanging around here. There's a little bit more of Win. I call these the small momentum players that tack on after a name's already up 3 or 4%. So we're seeing that in both Win and Las Vegas Sands. One of the charts that I showed earlier on Twitter. Let's see if I still have this up. Yeah, I mean the correlation between these casinos. Whoops, there it went, and it's gone. Just kidding. Let's see. Right here. This is the K-Web, which I just went over, the Chinese Internet ETF, and then the orange line is Win, and the blue line is Las Vegas Sands. So these things are really. I mean, look at that. Look at the tight fit here in Win, between Win and the Chinese Internet ETF. The reason why I point this out is two reasons. One, there's a relationship here, and number two, just be careful of diversification, right? So if you're long the Chinese Internets and you're also long the casinos, it kind of looks like the same trade, right? So you want to just be mindful of your risk. Just as I've talked about before, you don't necessarily want to be long. When I say you, I mean me, thinking, it's not what I really want to be long 4 or 5 things in the same group, right? Unless I'm hedging it out in some capacity. And again, this video is for information purposes only. But again, really, mindful to be aware of the relationship and about being careful of not putting too many eggs in one basket. But still, I think it's interesting what's going on here. Maybe trying to carve out a bottom in some of these things, and certainly they've got momentum when either both to the downside and to the upside. Is what Las Vegas Sands is up 5% today. So that's what's going on there. And I see just a lot of other areas participating today. You've got a couple beaten up groups, just growth in general. If you look at the, a couple ETFs to look at here, FFTY, which is the IBD 50 list, that's over 2%. IGV, the software group, which has really gotten beaten up. We went over a bunch of these names pre-market, and the charts all kind of look the same. I don't think. I think these are moving together as a group right now, so you could kind of pick one software name. If I don't think you have to go crazy with trying to find the best one. I think they're all kind of moving together right now, considering the volatility that these things have had. Yeah, and that's generally how it works. When volatility increases, names tend to move together. So let me just talk about a couple other things before I forget. Oil is moving up. This is kind of giving a relief, I think, to the high yield bond group, which has been a little bit skittish with the move in oil because there are some energy companies in the high yield space. HYG is up basically on the highs of the day after 9 straight down days. I was talking about pre-market a bounce trade in HYG. I did not get to put it on because it already opened up pretty strong. But that's good to see. So credit spreads are tightening a little bit because you got HYG up 70 basis points and TLT is what, down 10 basis points? So down 40 basis points. So that's significant tightening of high yield credit spreads. So that's a good thing, right? We want to see those things tighten. So that's not bad. So again, one day is not a trend. How I'm playing this, I'll give you a couple names that we've seen some option activity in. NKTR, I'm in this trade. Some aggressive January calls went up. We can bring this trade up here. A little bit different momentum play. Whenever I see calls like this go up in a name like this, there's a total of 25 on the tape. You can see January 40s in here. So I'm in that trade, most likely for a day trade. Depends how many targets I could hit. Chart's ugly as hell, but could get a little bit of a bounce. A few other things that we've done today. Still in some Western Digital. Managed to hit a target from it yesterday. I talked about that name. I thought also good risk to reward. It's up 2.7% today. So woohoo! Nice little trade from yesterday. And other names that we've seen some call buying, I mentioned Lowe's. Some small stuff, CVNA. This is actually, if you're a member of Tribeca Trade Group, you know that we do a monthly stock contest. This was my pick for the contest. It's kind of, did this move on earnings, but it's another one of these growth names that really can move. So there's a little bit of calls that went up there. I think we saw some calls earlier in the week in CVNA. It is a very interesting company. This is the used car dealer that actually delivers the car to you. You could actually pick it out on the website. Cool company. So maybe watch the 200-day moving average there. Also a pretty high volatile name. I would play that name in stock rather than options. I'm also looking 2 winter trades. Goose. I know Goose has moved up a lot. I bought a little bit of Goose today as a cold weather trade. It's actually not working right now. I got to watch this 50-day moving average, and if it happens to break that, I'll be out of the trade. But cold weather trade, of course, high beta name. Goose, and then my other trade, because it's going to be 20 degrees. Look at Mountain Goat today, up 4.8. It's going to be 20 degrees tomorrow for Thanksgiving on the East Coast. So this is a nice move by this Mountain. I talked about this name last week, and of course it kind of sold off with every other equity on Monday and Tuesday, but it's still showing some strength here. It's basically back, and I think that's what we're seeing right now. Is a lot of names that are back to Monday, around Monday's open. So we'll see. If you played yesterday for a bounce, basically what I'm doing is taking more money off the table than adding, especially on these green days, which we haven't seen much follow through on a green day. But I would basically watch Monday's open. If we could get above Monday's open in some names, that would kind of push me to be a little bit more constructive. But for now, hey, we got it kind of feels like a get out of jail free card today, being that if you added risk yesterday and if you added risk on Monday, you're getting a chance to kind of get out of it for profits if you did it correctly. What happens next? What happens on Friday? What happens on next week? I don't know. We will be here trading on Friday. It's a half day. I like the day after Thanksgiving for trading. Sometimes it could get really whippy. Sometimes people will say, not much happens. It's a slow day. But it's for whatever reason, there seems to be volatility that happens on Fridays after the shortened day after Thanksgiving. So I'm looking forward to that day, and then we'll see how we set up for next week. So for now, sticking in some of the trends. Well, I see the VIX kind of moving lower here. Of course, like I said, one day is not a trend, but for some of the trades that I've added recently, I want to ride those profits out a little bit, and we'll go from there. All right, guys. Oh, last thing. I knew there was one other thing. One other kind of quick indicator that I've been looking at is, and I mentioned how I thought Coca-Cola was setting up for a short. I did not short it, but I think it worked as a pretty good idea. Reversal bar on Coca-Cola yesterday. And that's one thing I'm watching is what the defensives are doing today. And I don't see much of a bid. It looks like growth is outperforming value today, which is also a nice risk-on sign. Utilities also, I think, are down 90 basis points on the day. Maybe a false breakout there yesterday. Too early to tell. But so it is what it is. A nice little spot to watch for today. All right, guys. Have a great Thanksgiving, and I'll see you on Friday.